Stand up in Austin. The sun hung low over the bustling streets of Austin, Texas. A breeze rustled through the trees as the inhabitants made their way home after a long day. The air was thick with the smell of food trucks and anticipation for the night to come. Philip Martin stood on the corner of 6th Street, his hands buried deep in the pockets of his worn jeans, and his hair was a mess. He squinted into the setting sun, feeling its heat on his face. "Hey, watch it," someone shouted, snapping him out of his thoughts as they brushed past him. "Damn bills. How the hell did I get myself into this? Can't even order takeout," he mumbled under his breath, kicking at a stray pebble on the sidewalk. "Gotta find a way out of this mess." After closing his apartment door, he stepped over the leftover Chinese and letters from debt companies and glanced at the late rent letter pinned to the fridge. Final reminder in bold letters. His heart raced. "One," he whispered, rubbing his temples. "Just one damn month." He pulled out his phone, scrolling through job listings with shaking hands. Fast food joints, retail stores, even Craigslist for hire jobs was an option. Need experience, college degree required, must have references. Each rejection stung like a slap to the face. "Damn it, maybe Dad was right and I should have gone to the military," he muttered. Philip had run out of his savings a few months prior, but previously worked as a telemarketer to save up to go to college before getting laid off. "All right, I got 2 weeks to try to turn this around. There's got to be something," he thought. He stepped outside to the warm Austin sun brushing against his face. He needed a break from the weight of the rejection emails piling up in his inbox and decided to take a walk and clear his head. As he strolled down the busy sidewalk, he couldn't help but feel sorry for himself. Seeing all of these people going about their day, probably to school, work, doing something with their life, smiling, probably thinking about what they're going to have for dinner while I'm wondering if I have any ramen left, he thought. Soon after, he noticed an array of colorful flyers plastered on a bulletin board near a bustling coffee shop. One in particular caught his eye. It was a vibrant orange and advertised a stand-up comedy test at Frank DeLuca's club. Philip vaguely remembered going there once with a date at an open mic comedy night. It was her idea, but he actually enjoyed it. "Win big, make 'em laugh," read the bold black letters. Stand-up comedy. Well, Philip mused aloud, his curiosity piqued. First prize, $20,000. No way. Contestants have 5 minutes to impress the judges and audience. $20,000? Philip felt his heart race. That's insane, he thought. And anybody can do this? Just then his phone rang, another bill collector. Immediately ignored. Philip crossed his arms and took a step toward the poster. He had always been told he was funny. Might as well give it a try, he said to himself, pulling out his phone and taking a picture. After signing up for the contest that day at the venue, he forgot all about eating and went straight home. He sat on his couch after grabbing his notepad and pen and started brainstorming. The next day, Philip burst through the door of his best friend Claire's apartment, a wild grin plastered across his face, the smell of freshly baked cookies wafting through the air. "You won't believe this," he began. They met in middle school. Both weren't very popular and gravitated toward each other. In high school, they had grown even closer after Claire's father died. Besides her mother, Philip was the only person who was there for her. They remained close friends ever since. Claire, sitting on her plush couch with a glass of wine which she almost spilled, looked up at him, her short, wavy black hair framing her face. "Bro, seriously? I could have thought you were a robber." "I'm sorry, but anyway, stand-up comedy contest," he said as he paced. "Huge cash prize, $20,000. Wait, what? Stand-up? Philip, you've never even done an open mic before." "I've gone to one, though." She wasn't amused. "But seriously, I have to try, Claire. I told you how crazy things have been lately. This could be a good thing. The entry fee was $100, but I was coming up with some stuff last night, and I think I really have a chance. And you always said that I was funny," he concluded, taking a seat on her couch. She still had the same look as when he first came in before setting her glass down. Claire then walked over and sat by him and said, "Yeah, you are, but stuff like this, it takes experience, you know? There's going to be a lot of people who actually do this for a living who you'll be up against." Yeah, I thought about that, but hey, I already paid, so that is a fact, she nodded. And hey, if you're serious about this, you know I'll support you all the way. Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I got another late rent letter a couple days ago. What? Why didn't you tell me? She perked up and asked. I mean, it is pretty fucking embarrassing. No, that's bullshit. You got laid off. You know you could stay here and crash on the couch while you get it together. Well, the contest is in 3 weeks, so I mean, I've been looking for another job, but I'm really looking forward to this contest. But like you said, I haven't even been to an open mic yet. Within seconds, Claire was on her phone, and less than a minute after, pulled up an open mic in Dallas being held the upcoming weekend. Here you go, she said, smiling, pushing the phone toward his face. Damn, she's fast, he thought, taking a look at the event. I have to go to work that night, but I'll take off for the main contest, but let me know how the open mic goes, she says. Wait, Philip began. What do you mean, wait? She interrupted. You have got to get at least some type of experience if you're taking this seriously. And you've got a week to write. Philip gave an annoyed look and took a deep breath as he handed her back the phone. 1 week later. The spotlight flickered above the stage, casting a nervous tremor on the faces of the contestants. Philip's heart pounded in his chest as he scanned the dimly lit room, taking in the rowdy crowd and the low hum of laughter. He'd been writing his ass off, coming up with the best jokes to put into the 5 minutes he would be given. Hey you, a voice pierced through the sound, drawing his attention to a woman with long brown hair. You must be new here, she said, sizing him up. Yeah, he smiled. I'm Phillip. As he extended his hand, she grasped it firmly, replying, Leah Horowitz. Are you like security or something? She joked, referring to his all-black outfit. Philip took a second before countering, Yeah, and they told me there was a terrorist with a bomb under his shirt that resembled a belly. Leah laughed and said, That's Arabic. I'm Jewish. Hence the last name Horowitz, genius. Aren't all Jews named Horowitz? Shut the fuck up, she laughed, placing a hand on his chest. Leah, you're here tonight too? A man bounded over and asked. What's up, dude? He said, introducing himself to Philip. Miguel Ramirez. You guys ready for tonight? Fuck yeah, bitch, Leah said. You? I mean, we'll see. Just working through some stage fright, you know? Philip nodded as he could relate. You got this, man. Maybe we can help each other out, Philip suggested. Leah raised an eyebrow before nodding and saying, You know what? Why not? We could maybe bounce ideas off each other. Sounds good, Miguel agreed. I'm in, obviously after the night. The three laughed and Philip was happy to at least not feel so alone anymore. The open mic went about as well as he could have expected. Both Leah and Miguel got a few laughs on their sets and Phillips was after both. He had hoped to go as early as possible to get it over with and had been having trouble with remembering everything in order not to exceed the time. Now he would be going toward the end of the night and was looking over the notes on his phone like crazy, retreating to the restroom since it was the quietest place in the venue. Finally, when it was his turn, he bumbled over his opening from nervousness, which caused him to forget the next planned topic. His 5-minute set ended up being less than 4, and the only laugh he got was after the awkward silence following his joke, no pun intended, of a performance. Miguel and Leah did their best to encourage him after, even taking him out to eat. Not bad for the first time, man, Miguel said. Yeah, no, the first time I got on stage, I nearly pissed myself, Leah added. They tell Phillip they will also be in the $20,000 competition, but still don't mind working together, and a few days later, the trio meet up. Philip's desk was cluttered with crumpled papers and scattered pens as he sat writing. Okay, so a guy walks into a bar, he said, biting down on the end of his pen. The joke felt stale and overused. He threw the paper and the pen on the floor. Philip, you've been at this for hours, Leah said, perching on the edge of his desk. Take a break. Can't, Philip shook his head. I need to find a good opener. Hey man, Miguel began, lounging against the door frame. Remember what we talked about? It's not just about the jokes. It's about connecting with your audience. You got to show them who you are. Let's hear what you have so far, Leah coaxed. All right, Philip relented, clearing his throat. As he recited his routine, Leah and Miguel listened. Nice, Miguel clapped his hands together, grinning. That bit about the AI was pretty funny. Thanks, but I'm not sure about the ending, Philip admitted, rubbing at his temples. It feels like it's missing something. Maybe you could try a callback to an earlier joke, he suggested, his eyes searching the ceiling. Yeah, that could be a good idea, Leah said. Philip never understood the point of comments like these. Of course it could be a good idea. Why state the obvious? Right, I'll give it a shot, Philip nodded. He still hasn't even decided on which jokes he'll leave out yet. One evening he was going over his routine with Claire at her place when she says, I like the couple part. I think you should leave that in. Really? Philip asked. I thought it was kind of corny. Maybe. It seems like you're coming along really well, though. You're a lot funnier than I thought. Philip slowly turned his head and smiling, said, So are you. As he continued to practice, laughter filled the room and Philip felt his self-doubt begin to ebb away. All right, one more run-through, he said as Claire cheered him on. When he finished, Philip was exhausted and slumped on the couch. More work than you thought it'd be, huh? Claire asked, resting her head against his shoulder. Yeah, but, he said, turning to her, it's a lot of fun, too. And besides, you know I need the moolah. Yeah, and you know I'm here for you. Want some wine? I was hoping you'd ask since I started practicing, he joked. Philip and Claire sat in her dim living room and talked and drank before watching a few stand-up comics on Netflix. When he awoke, she was still in his arms, fast asleep. Not wanting to wake her, he gently laid her head down before finding a blanket to cover her. Locking the door behind him, he made his way back to his apartment. Thanks for not waking me up, asshole, LOL, Claire's text read. I'm sorry, you look so peaceful, smiley face, he responded before opening the door to his one bedroom. Hey, Philip, we definitely need to talk, a voice yelled from behind him. He could hear the approaching steps, nearly falling over one another as he turned around toward the voice. It was his landlord, or in this case, landlady. She walked right up to him and stood, arms crossed, her graying hair pulled back into a tight ponytail. Tell me you've got my rent money. Philip swallowed hard, feeling his cheeks flush. No, Miss Samantha, I don't, he admitted, rubbing the back of his neck. Things have been tough lately. I'm still looking for more work, but I'm working on something that might pay off pretty soon. Oh no, Philip, I'm going to need something a little more than that. You know I can't let you just stay here without paying rent. He sighed before she continued, but I also know you're trying. That's why I haven't kicked your ass out yet. However, this is your last chance. You've got till the end of the month. He nodded in agreement, lowering his head. And if that rent's not paid in full, she continued, then you can find everything in this apartment outside by the dumpsters. Got it, he again nodded as Samantha stormed away. Philip retreated into his apartment, shutting the door behind him. The room was small, cluttered with books on comedy and a half-empty coffee mug on the table. A notepad lay open, filled with scribbles and scratched-out jokes. His heart raced as he paced the room, thoughts swirling like a tornado. Losing his home wasn't an option. A few days later, Philip met only Leah for a practice session at a nearby bar since Miguel had to work. Hey, Philip, she called out, waving him over with a smile. Her long black hair flowed behind her as she moved, her red jacket a stark contrast to the night. About time you showed up, she teased. Sorry, the buses were taking forever. Some drunk homeless lady peed on the floor at the second stop. Must have been holding it for at least a week. Anyways, there was so much of it and people tried to keep their feet off the floor. Did you? Nah, I figure I've stepped in worse shit than that. Did smell bad though. But I'm here now, so let's get started. Philip watched Leah carefully as she delivered her punchline, stumbling over a few words, but overall pretty funny. You've got really good delivery, Philip complimented. I'm trying to stop rushing my words. Thanks, she nodded. Now your turn. As he delivered his routine, Leah leaned forward and listened, legitimately impressed. When he finished, she gave a little clap and said, Philip, that was fucking awesome. But maybe try pausing a little longer after that one punchline. It will give the audience more time to react. And don't forget to make eye contact. It helps build a connection with the crowd. But overall, you did really well. Thank you, he said, holding back a smile. Oh, and have you figured out an opener yet? She asked. I'm working on a few things. Haven't hashed everything out yet. That's why I didn't include it. Let's hear it. I'm still working on mine too. Haven't got anything. Okay, well, it kind of goes like this. What's up with all these pranks? I mean, I like pranks, but don't want to be the one getting pranked, you know? Like, I like watching other people get pranked, right? Just not me. I was watching one the other day of a guy that dressed up as Jason, and he just chased people around with a chainsaw on Halloween. Now, I don't know if that chainsaw was real, but it sounded real. And it looked real. Yo, how dumb do you have to be to chase someone around with something where if you fall on that something, you wind up being the prank? But anyway, it was hilarious. I loved every second of it. Just some big ass dude in a Jason mask at night chasing unsuspecting what looked to be college students with a chainsaw. Pure entertainment. I'm like, that had to be somewhere in New York or California. Ain't no way that's happening here. Hell, as soon as I hear that bitch, I'm shooting. Prank my ass. But it's funny to watch though. Would be funny to do too, except I don't want to get shot either. Imagine they had pranks back during slavery. I mean, I'm sure they did, but imagine you a slave in the deep south and it's nearing the end of the Civil War. White people, I know it's hard for you, but please just imagine. Now imagine you talking to your friend late one night and say, "Boy, I sure hope we win. I've been picking cotton for over 30 years, and I'm only 31. Then the friends say, "Boy, we ain't gonna win nothing. Even if we do, Mass ain't gonna let her go. You know they ain't gonna set no niggas free, nigga." Then you get sad, right? And then you start believing you not gonna win. But then you hear other slaves saying the North winning. And after some time pass, you start believing that. Then one day in April, you and all the other slaves get called by the master to the front of his mansion in the middle of the plantation. See, this never happened before because it was like the middle of the day and everybody would be still working. Now you've been noticing the master looking unwell recently, but just chalked it up to maybe he ate something bad. "Line up all you niggas, I ain't got all day," he says. So all y'all rush up and look at him while he's standing up on that high-ass porch being fanned by the finest slave in the county. And he says, "Well, I just got news, the war has ended." And all the slaves look at each other and you look at your friend like, "I told you so." And then the master does something you've never seen him do. Well, unless he whipping somebody. And that smile. So you raise an eyebrow and that's when he say, "The South won, niggas. You niggas are still all mine." And then you hear all the slaves crying and moaning and you damn near fall to your knees when he says, "Niggas, it's a prank. Now get the hell off my property." After he finished, he remained silent and waited before finally saying, "So, what did you think?" A moment passed before she said, "Phillip, I'm not gonna lie, that's a really good one, but I'm not sure I'd include all of that. Might piss some people off. But it is pretty funny though, from a comedic standpoint." Phillip sighed, saying, "Yeah, I thought it might be a little too much, especially for my first time, right?" "Exactly. Yeah, but I use all of the other stuff. Probably save that one for when you get a bit more known." "Yeah, you're right. Got a lot of work to do." "We all do," she added with a wide grin. "Now let's get back to work." And the two continued working on their routines well into the night. Phillip stood outside the comedy club in Dallas smoking his weed vape pen. The contest was 2 nights away, and Miguel wanted him to show up in support to watch one of his gigs, although he wouldn't be performing. He had been far too busy preparing for the contest, which happened to be his first real one, or the only one that mattered. Between the contest and Claire, there was little room for anything else in his mind. The low hum of laughter from the audience seemed to filter through even the walls. Miguel wasn't set to perform for another 10 minutes, so Phillip took this advantage for a smoke break, trying to fight the cold air, which he was ill prepared for. "Got a light?" a voice snapped him out of his thoughts. Sorry man, it's a vape," Phillip stammered, turning to face the speaker, a tall, bald man with impeccably tailored clothes towering over him. "Shit, it's alright," he said, digging in his pockets. "I've got matches, just didn't want to use them." After lighting a Marlboro, the man asked, "You getting on tonight?" "Oh no, just here for my friend Miguel." "Oh yeah, he's up next. Pretty funny too." "Yeah, he is. You've seen him?" Phillip asked. "Oh yeah, all the time. He was at the last open mic I judged. Supposed to be judging some contest in a couple days in Austin on Friday too." "Wait, the one at Frank DeLucas?" "Yeah, that's the one. Me and Frank go way back." "Man, I can't believe it. I'm in that contest." "Really?" Yeah, I'm from Austin and this will be my first real set. No shit, what's your name? Philip Martin, he said, extending his hand. Gary Jackson, talent agent. Damn, this is crazy. Well, nice to meet you, Philip said, trying to conceal his awe as they shook. Yeah, you too, he replied, taking another puff. A lot of people competing. Everybody want to be the next big thing in comedy. To be honest, I'd be satisfied with just being able to catch up on my rent. Any advice? I'll tell you this. If you want to make it in the industry, don't just rely on natural talent, and stay away from negative comedians. Philip cocked his head to the side. Negative comedians, like the ones who don't think anyone will make it? Those too, but not that kind of negative. I mean leeches that bring you down every time they come around. Ones that don't create any original content. Everything's just this PC manufactured bullshit. Regurgitation at its finest. They'll do anything for a come up, steal your jokes, take on the demeanor of another comedian. Makes sense, Philip replied, more focused than usual, but then again he was hitting the vape. And listen, Gary continued, his voice dropping to a whisper. This business is ruthless. I've seen guys get chewed up and spit out by powerful agents and producers, exploited, cheated, blacklisted, you name it. Trust your instincts and don't be afraid to walk away from a bad deal, no matter how fucking tempting it may seem. Thanks for the advice. I really appreciate that, Philip responded. You got it. Good luck out there, Gary said, offering a brief nod before disappearing back into the club. It was the night of the contest and Leah and Miguel stood backstage reciting their lines to each other. Well, I gotta go get ready. Thanks for coming, Philip told Claire near the bar. Wouldn't have missed it for the world. I admit I am a little nervous. You'll be fine, she said, kissing him on the cheek. This is the first time she kissed him since her tragedy when he gave her flowers. Speechless, he smiled and joined the others. The dimly lit backstage area buzzed with the nervous energy of aspiring comedians, each one pacing or muttering their lines under their breath. Ready? Miguel asked. Thought you weren't going to show up, Leah joked. I can't believe I'm here now to tell you the truth, Philip said. I wish they had a first, second, and third place, Miguel said. That way all three of us could win. Yeah, well, you know who would be taken first, Leah smiled. The three went their separate ways and practiced until it was their turn. Philip leaned against the wall, eyes closed, trying to block out the cacophony around him. He could feel the weight of his financial burdens bearing down on him, making it difficult for him to breathe almost, all the while trying to block out these new but weirdly familiar feelings for Claire. The club was alive with anticipation as the audience members clinked their glasses together and settled into their seats. Across the room, the panel of judges whispered amongst themselves, their eyes scanning the eager faces of the comedians waiting in the wings. Thanks for attending the Last Laugh Comedy Contest, the host bellowed into his microphone, his voice reverberating off the walls. Let's continue this night of laughter and tears. Next up, we got the one and only Miguel Ramirez, he announced, gesturing grandly toward the stage entrance. Miguel walked onto the stage and by the cheer was well liked. As he began his routine, Philip watched from behind the curtain, admiration growing with each punchline. The audience roared with laughter, completely captivated by Miguel's unique perspective and ability to connect with their everyday experiences. As the applause thundered around him, Miguel took a bow and exited the stage. Man, that was even better than we practiced, Philip whispered, clapping Miguel on the back. You killed that shit. Thanks, dude. I'm sure you'll do the same. I damn well hope so, he sighed. Good shit, Miguel. I really like the part about sushi and burritos, Leah said, walking over. Thanks, I was hungry when I wrote that. Aren't you up next? Yeah, and like 6 people, she answered. Some were funny, some bombed, some went over the time limit, some didn't. 45 minutes later, the host's voice boomed through the club, announcing Leah as the next performer. She stepped on the stage as Philip and Miguel cheered. Hi everyone, I'm Leah Horowitz. I know, the most Jewish name ever, right? Maybe because I am Jewish, she began. The audience laughed as both her friends had huge smiles on their faces. Anyway, she continued, what's the deal with pranks? Philip's eyebrows raised. This wasn't in any of the lines she read for them. Maybe I gave her an idea, he thought. Then Leah proceeded to tell the same joke Philip had told her he was thinking about putting in his opener, which she warned him against. Except it wasn't the exact same joke. She changed slaves to Jews, slavery to the Holocaust, and the end of the Civil War to the end of World War II. But other than that, it was the same. Philip's heart raced and face grew hot. Not only did she steal his joke, but now he has to find a new opener. Since he doesn't have any time, he'll have to make up one on the fly, which he wasn't prepared to do. I can't believe she would do that, Miguel said. I mean, I've only known her for 6 months after I moved down here from Nevada, but I never would have thought she'd be... Damn, I'm sorry, man. Can't we report her to the judges or something? Philip asked. Not if we don't got a way to prove it. I mean, you're my witness. You can tell them that it was my joke first. Right, and then she'll say that she wrote it first and just didn't tell us. And just one more thing, Miguel added. And what's that? DeLuca owns the building, but her uncle owns the lot and is friends with one of the judges. What the fuck? Philip said, putting a hand on his head while looking up and running his fingers through his hair. I know. You don't got any material that you could use for that part instead? No, man, that was my opener. Now I gotta figure it out, I guess. Fucked up, man. You're smart, though. It's only one bit. Just use something else. It was my best bit, Philip said as he collapsed into a metal chair. Aside from that, Leah hadn't stolen anything else from Philip, or at least that he knew of, and the crowd loved her. Thanks, everybody, for coming out, Leah shouted on the stage as they continued to cheer. You can find me at LucyLeah96 on all platforms. Just make sure that you don't switch the numbers because you'll find a completely different person. They all laughed before she concluded. All right, everybody, have a good night and make sure you riot if I don't win. The audience clapped, some even standing as she exited the stage, passing right by Philip and Miguel. When they tried to get her attention, she ignored them, choosing to mingle instead with her newfound friends and the owner. That was awesome, especially that first bit about the pranks, DeLuca said. If I were judging, I'd vote you in for sure. Thanks so much, Frank. That's actually one of my favorites too, she said as her former friends watched on from a distance with their arms crossed, shaking their heads. All right, Philip muttered, pacing backstage while Miguel watched on. His heart thumped as he clenched and unclenched his fists, trying to steady his nerves. You got this. Hey man, you look ready, Miguel said. Just remember what we practiced. Thanks, Philip replied, taking a deep breath. 2 minutes, Philip, called the stage manager, poking her head around the corner. Good luck, exclamation point, Claire texted, which seemed to lift his spirits just a little more despite the situation. Before he knew it, the dreaded words came. Philip Martin, you're up next, the host's voice jolted him back to reality, and suddenly the world seemed to close in all around him. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he wiped clammy palms on his jeans. Go get him, man, Miguel chimed in, flashing him a thumbs up. Come on, bro, you got this, he said to himself, taking deep breaths in. Give it up for Phillip Martin, the host cheered, and Philip sauntered over toward the blinding lights. The stage seemed to stretch out before him like an ocean, but despite the brightness aimed at him, he could see everyone in the audience's faces all too clearly. From the corner of his eye, Philip saw Leah smiling at the edge of the stage, her hands on her hips. The microphone stand loomed before him like a weight. He gripped it tightly, feeling the cold metal beneath his sweaty fingers. This was it. His chance to save himself from drowning in debt. Hi everyone, he stammered, his voice cracking. The microphone shook in his hands as they quivered. I'm Philip Martin. Philip then went into his routine with the confidence of a house mouse, and the audience picked up on it and just didn't like anything he had to say. Their response was not what he had hoped for at all. A cacophony of boos erupted from the crowd, filling the air with contempt. Insults were hurled at him like daggers. You ain't funny, get the hell off stage. My kid's funnier than you and he ain't even born yet, another shouted, to which many laughed. All right, Philip said, forcing a smile as he adjusted the microphone. Judging from what I'm seeing, you should probably prevent that by getting a vasectomy. As a matter of fact, I'll pay for it, and I ain't even got a job yet, he replied, causing the crowd to laugh. Philip inhaled deeply, the air tasting of stale beer and cigarettes. With an exhale, he launched into his routine. Yeah, man, I was talking to one guy that flew down here from Jersey for the contest. I mean, I get it, it's a lot of money, but damn. I hate flying, man. Like, it's not so much I'm scared of crashing or dying in a crash, because I know you probably won't feel it or anything. I mean, you'll know it's coming, but you won't feel it. But it's more so the people, like the assholes you gotta fucking fly with. You got the people behind you kicking the back of your seat every 2 minutes. The people in front of you reclining like there's nobody behind them. You can't even use the fucking tray. Their seats all on your knees. Like, what's going on? You're not about to, like, sleep for 10 hours straight. Like, what are we doing here? Before you even board, it's like the rich people get to board before you. They're first class, and it's like first class boarding. They're skipping up all happy, basically strolling to the front desk, looking back at you like, these broke motherfuckers. And then when you get on, you gotta pass them. They're looking up, judging you with those eyes. The only solace you do have is in the unfortunate event of a crash, they're gonna die first, probably. But then you remember that even if they do die first, they'll be in heaven first. So not only in life are you ahead of me, in death you are as well? This can't be fair. Yeah, last time I went to the airport, I saw this girl in those yoga pants. You know, not the old yoga pants, but like the newer ones that look like they have like a wedgie. But it's like a comfortable wedgie and it looks good. The one, you know, the pants that look like they've been painted on. They don't leave anything to the imagination. Yo, why didn't they have those when I was a kid? Bro, you don't even need porn if you go to the gym. How are those legal? Not that I'm complaining. Yo, I should be able to sue if I hurt myself because of your distraction. Matter of fact, don't even call it the gym anymore. Just call it the desert. Because all you seeing is camel toes and everybody thirsty. But yeah, fine girls motivate you, man. You ever been at the gym on a treadmill, elliptical, on the bike or something, and some fine girl gets on the one next to you, and you start going faster? Ain't been to the gym in 10 years, now you going max incline, max speed. Even in class, like if you got fine girls in your class, they make you want to go to class, they make you want to be there. I remember I had a yoga class, there were fine girls in that one, and the teacher was fine on top of it. Bro, the dudes had like perfect attendance in that class. But all my teachers, like when I was growing up in middle school, grade school, and high school, all of them were like either old or guys. I think like only 1 week we had like some fine substitute teacher. And she was real fine. Bro, I saw people I thought had dropped out come back just for that week. Bro, teachers should be fine like OnlyFans models. Like, I'm not saying they should be nude or anything, but I mean, show some cleavage, booty shorts. You get a lot more engagement, trust me, from the students and the parents, at least the dads. I'm not saying you should get rid of all the old people, all the old teachers, you know, that experience counts for a lot and all that. I mean, maybe just put them in like a basement or something, have them tell the models in the class what to teach. Like, the models don't really have to know anything. They just have to look good and say what the real teacher says. I guarantee you a lot more guys will graduate. I guess what I'm trying to say is if you want A's and B's, maybe bring in some double D's. But truth be told, maybe I would have done better in school had I had better looking teachers. If I had fine teachers, I probably would guarantee it. Then I wouldn't have had to do like security for a year after I graduated. Bro, I remember I was doing security in Dallas one time, checking IDs, and there was this hot drunk girl that came up to me, and she's like, "You're hot. Let me see your dick." Like, I was like, what? I was turned on, don't get me wrong, but I was like, what? Because no one had ever asked me that before. But, you know, I'm like all professional. I'm working, you know, and she goes in. But then after she left, I started thinking more about it. And yeah, I was trying to be professional. That's why I didn't show her. But I'm thinking if I had like a huge one, like a porn star one, I probably would have showed her. As a matter of fact, I probably would have told her to take it out. But you know, she was like a drunk white girl, you know. I didn't want to disappoint her. Maybe she had never seen a black guy's dick in real life. Maybe the only dicks from black guys she saw were in through porn videos, and she wanted to, I don't know, see if it was true. I didn't want to be the one to disappoint her. Like she's expecting King Kong, but instead the chimp from Planet of the Apes comes out. and he's all emaciated. Like, my dick's like the alphabet. No, don't get me wrong. Not that it's long. It's not a BBC. It's more like an ABC. It's average. But yeah, at least it's not small. I mean, I feel bad for guys that have to deal with that, man. Because that's the first thing girls go to you if they're mad or after a breakup. If you don't have a huge dick, that's exactly what they'll go to. Little dick ass boy. Like, what would be the female equivalent of that? You can't say, oh, small boobs. Because they might have a big ass. If they got a small ass, they might have big boobs. If they don't have an ass or boobs, they might have a pretty face. Like, what would be the female equivalent to a guy's small dick? I don't know. Smelly coochie? Like, I've dated a lot of women, and I've never had to deal with that, luckily, except one time. There's this girl I was dating. We had been dating for about a week, and she calls me over. She's all like, do you want to hang out, watch a movie, drink a little bit? So I'm like, for sure, let's do this. So I go over, we're watching a movie, we're drinking wine. I didn't really drink wine like that, but, it was cool. And then things get heated up, start kissing. She's like, do you want to go to the bedroom? I'm like, for sure. So we're kissing in there. She's on her back, laying down on the bed. I'm sucking on her lips, go down to her neck, and working my way lower, kissing her boobs, then down to the stomach, her abs. She was really in shape, which this surprised me. Because I'm a giver. Like, I like giving. Like, this is my favorite thing to do. So I'm really getting excited about what I think's about to happen. So I'm going lower and lower, and I'm slipping off her yoga pants. And then I start kissing her inner thighs, and then that's when it hits me. Like, it hit me. Like, that smell. Like, it wasn't like a normal smell, like that you could wash off, like a homeless smell that just been out for a while. You just take a good shower and you're good. No, this smell like came from inside. And so, I try to play it off. I had never encountered this before, so I just hold my breath. I start working my way back up. And up to that point, I was rock hard. Like, I was rock hard. But that was such a turnoff. Like, I went from The Rock to Pee Wee Herman faster than you can buy a movie ticket. But anyway, I'm hoping she doesn't notice. So, like I said, I'm holding my breath, kissing her stomach, then her titties, and back to her neck, then back to her lips. And I'm like, well, the weather is nicer up here. Let's stay up here. And I could tell she wants me to put it in, and I'm trying to get it back up without her noticing. So I finally get it back up, and I put it in, even though I could still kind of smell it. And that first thrust, bro, I promise that was a mistake, because the first thrust, it was like all the air from below just came shooting up forward. I'm like, this has to be what they use in gas chambers. This has to be the exact same thing Hitler used. Or at least part of it. So that was the first thrust, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this. So I do whatever mental gymnastics I have to, and go again, thrust again. And again, the same thing happened. All that air, that nasty, putrid air just rushed back forward, all into my nostrils. And I'm like, if I can smell this, like, she has to be able to smell it. Like, what is it? What are we talking about here? Unless she's just so used to it, I don't know. In my mind, I'm like, bro, I can't do this. So I make up something. I'm like, hey, my stomach hurts. It must be the wine. It's really messing up my stomach. Which my stomach hurt, but I don't think it was because of the wine. And she's real cool. She's like, oh, I understand. That's totally fine, And I'm like, oh, yeah, for sure. We can get back to this another, like, I can't wait to get back to this. Just straight lying through my teeth. And so I go in the bathroom to wash off. Keep in mind, I had only had 2 thrusts. Remember that. 2 in and outs. And as I'm washing off, like, I damn near used half her soap bottle just trying to get the smell off me, because now it was on me. I'm scrubbing hard as hell trying to get this smell off. Needless to say, we didn't really talk after that. But she was real cool. Shortly after, I was dating another girl. She was a party girl. We had went to a Spurs game out in San Antonio, and on the way back, I got a DUI. Yeah, they caught me coming back from the game in one of those checkpoints. So I go to court, and they're like, all right, Phillip, you can either go to jail for 5 days and pay a huge fine, or pay a small fine, go to 3 months of classes and 3 months of AA meetings, and no jail time. So obviously I took the second option to call me a pussy, but fuck jail, man. I don't want to spend a fucking day there. And besides, I couldn't afford that big ass fine. I would have still been paying on it. And that was 6 years ago. So I'm going to these meetings, these AA meetings, and then some of y'all know what it is, but if you haven't heard of it or if you're not really familiar, you just go in there and you're like, hey, I'm Phillip. I'm an alcoholic. And it doesn't matter if you're an alcoholic or not. Just say you're an alcoholic, because if you don't, everybody in there is going to think that you think you're better than them and you have a problem they don't have. And even if that is true, why make enemies? So I'm like, I'm Phil and I'm an alcoholic, which I didn't think I was either, but whatever. And part of the court stipulations was that I get something called a mentor. Now, a mentor in AA is just basically another person. They could be older or younger, doesn't really matter, but they kind of just walk you through the process of sobriety. There's someone to lean on if you don't really feel comfortable confiding in someone else about your struggles and whatnot. They help you with their experience and fighting alcoholism and all that. Really good idea, right? But I had this guy, he was like a Vietnam vet. He had lost his family to alcoholism after the war. His kids wouldn't talk to him. Nobody would talk to him. And that's what kind of drove him to what they call rock bottom. So he had been sober for like 16 years, rekindled a relationship with his family and everything. But he was like a super hard ass. He was hard on me. Like every 5 minutes he called and be like, hey, you know, what's going on? How are you doing? How are you holding up? And I appreciate it, but man, real no nonsense type of guy. And he would try to get me to go to the meetings he'd go to. He had like one home meeting that he went to, and I didn't really want to go there mainly because he was there. I mean, like I said, not a bad guy, but I knew he'd want to sit with me during the meeting. And he'd talk to me for like 30 minutes before the meeting, and he'd ask me questions after, and then he'd want to go out to eat at a restaurant or something just so we could talk more about sobriety. So no thanks, I'll pass. So I'm checking out all these meetings around town, and out in North Austin I find this meeting where like all the hot girls go to. It's like all the alcoholic hot women in the city go to this meeting. And it was far away from my mentor's meeting, so I'm like, hey, kill two birds with one stone. Now, during these meetings, if y'all don't know, all they do is just after you introduce yourself, you know, hey, I'm Phillip, I'm an alcoholic. They go around the room, and volunteers usually, like they don't make anyone get up and talk, but volunteers will get up and talk about their story. They'll get up in front of the room and tell everybody something. Hopefully they could, you know, inspire you to keep going strong or avoid a lot of the pitfalls and let you know you're not alone, and just provide like their story. Now, naturally, I never got up and told mine. I mean, what was I going to say? I mean, I'm here because the court told me if I didn't come, I was going to go to jail, and I only have one DUI. No, there are people coming way harder than that. So anyways, it's about 2 months, and I only got a month left, and I'm going to these meetings. The requirement was only 3 a week, so I'm like, okay, whatever, I can do this. And they're interested, I'm not going to lie. But I never got up and spoke. But then one day it was just so boring. Like everyone just had boring stories, and I had heard these stories so many times before. So one day the leader of the meeting, her name was, well, I can't tell you, it's supposed to be anonymous, but she gets up talking. She had huge boobs. I could swear they were implants. She was like the MILF type, like the hot older, like 40s, but still hot. And she was all tatted, like she was a bad girl back then. Well, anyways, no one wants to get up there and talk, and it had all been boring the whole night, and there was like another hot girl that was there that I hadn't seen before. So I'm like, fuck it, let's have some fun. So I get up there on the stage, and everyone's looking at me because they know me. Like, they don't know me personally because I don't really talk to people there, but they know I exist because I've been coming there. So they all perk up like, whoa, he's gonna get up and talk? I wonder what he's going to say. And you know, I didn't want to disappoint him. So I decided to make up a story. I mean, it's not like they know. And the meeting leader that was signing my slips after the meeting every time was all for it. And so I go into this. I say, Hi everyone, my name's Phillip, and I'm an alcoholic. And everybody's like, hi Phillip. And so I say I was born in South Africa during this time called apartheid, where black people couldn't really be in the streets. I had just read Trevor Noah's book, Born a Crime, like a month before that, so I kind of knew a little bit about this. So anyway, I'm like, yeah, my father had gotten shot by the rebels and killed. So it was just me and my mom. And it got so bad in South Africa that we had to try to escape. So it's just me and her trekking through Africa. And we see somewhere, this place called America. And she's like, that is where we need to go. So on foot, she has me on her back, making our way through Africa. She gets in the water and nearly swims half the way, but a boat came by just as we were about to drown and rescued us. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was like 5. They drop us off in South America. And during this time in South America, we're going through the jungles. And as we're trekking through the Amazon, I remember being so thirsty. We didn't have any water, anything to drink. And then one day, a miracle happened. Near a tree, beneath a bush, my mother found a bottle. Had brown liquid in it. So she opened it up and smelled it, just to make sure it wasn't pee. It was alcohol. We had gone 4 days without water, and this was all we had. And we didn't know when we'd make it back to civilization. I mean, water has to be in it, right? So for the next 3 days, we made our way through the jungle on that one bottle of, I think it was Jack Daniels. And every step my mom took, I just remember her saying, one step at a time, one day at a time. I just remember her saying, one day at a time, one step at a time. And then we finally get to Mexico. And as we're crossing, my mom is shot by the Border Patrol. But I don't have time to cry because now they're chasing me. So I get away after squeezing through a fence and wind up in America. I find this house, this huge house. It looked like a mansion. Knocked on the door, and the people that lived there saw that I was a child and took me to the police station. After realizing I had no family, they sent me to the orphanage. And a couple years later, a family finally picked this little black boy up. It was a family in Denver. So I moved to Denver. And I'm making friends, but not too many. I'm like the only black guy in the whole state. And in high school, I'm getting bullied. It wasn't just me, it was a couple other guys. A few of my really close friends. Eric was one of them. And we bonded over that bulliness. They were white, but this was a way for us to really bond. And one day in April, I get to school and I see them, but they're kind of parked away like in one of the further parking lots. And I go over and I'm like, hey guys, what's up? What's going on? Why y'all way over here? And they're like doing stuff. I don't know, they just look nervous. And they say, Phillip, bro, don't go to school today. And I'm like, what? It's out? I didn't hear anything. And they're like, no, man, trust me. Don't go to school today. And the way they looked at me. I didn't know what to think, but I knew they were serious. So I thought something might happen. I didn't know they were going to do something. So a couple days later, my family moved from Littleton to here in Texas, where we now reside, and been living ever since. I guess one thing that drew me to AA were the 12 steps. And I could just hear my mom in the back of my mind saying, one day at a time, Phillip. One day at a time. And bro, so I look up at the crowd, and like half of them are in tears and the other half are just in awe. They're like, whoa. The meeting leader, she's crying, but like she's shaking and crying, so her boobs are bouncing. Wow, man, those things were nice. And then something catches my eye in the back as I'm scanning the crowd, and I see my mentor. He has his arms crossed, shaking his head like this mother. I cannot believe it. Turns out, his meeting got canceled, and he just so happened to come to this one. I hadn't noticed him the whole time. Well, needless to say, we kind of broke up after that. Hey, thank you everybody for coming. Thanks for listening. Thanks for giving me a chance. Y'all, I appreciate it. Y'all have a great night. The room exploded with laughter as he stood there, beaming. The audience rose to their feet, clapping and cheering with wild abandon. Thank y'all, he shouted, moisture pricking the corners of his eyes as he raised one hand. Y'all been real cool, and thank y'all for coming out. Have a good night. Keep going, someone shouted from the back. Hey, next time, Phillip managed to yell back before leaving the stage. I can't believe that happened, he thought. Brother, I can't tell you how good you did, Miguel said, smiling before giving Phillip a bear hug. They were backstage, and it seemed like all around were whispering and pointing at Phillip. Everyone wanted to meet him, even some of the bigger acts. Claire texted him that she was waiting by the door. I'm as surprised as you, Phillip told Miguel. Got a little worried at first, though, he admitted. Anyways, I gotta go see Claire, but have you seen Leah? No, she's around here somewhere, though. Probably still in jokes. Yeah, well, I'll see you in a bit, Phillip said. Right, good luck, but hopefully I win, Miguel joked. As long as she doesn't, Phillip said. They laughed, and he gave a thumbs up as he left the backstage area. The spotlight flickered onto the main stage, Frank DeLuca's shadow looming below. He clutched a large check in one hand and a microphone in the other. The audience leaned forward in anticipation. All right, everybody listen up. It's time to announce the winner of tonight's stand-up comedy contest. The venue was as quiet as it had been the entire night. Miguel bit his bottom lip while Phillip felt as if he would faint. Give it up for... Tick, 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 tick. Oh shit, the newcomer, Phillip Martin! Phillip felt his heart drop as the rest of his body almost soon followed, but managed to make his way to the stage. Congratulations, brother, Frank said, handing Phillip the $20,000 check. You damn sure earned it. Phillip was in disbelief, staring at the check before saying, Thank you, Frank. I don't know what to say. I'm just so grateful for this opportunity, man. Thank you, judges. Thank you, y'all out there in the audience who laughed. Fuck those who didn't. Nah, I'm just playing, but he said as he clutched the check. After the contest, Miguel congratulated and hugged him. Thanks, man. Who would have knew? I know, right? And Leah, dude, I told everybody about that bitch. Like, the fuck was she thinking? Anyways, as soon as you won, I saw her dip out of here faster than in-laws on Christmas. Yeah, I was looking for her, wanted to see her face, Phillip smirked. It was priceless, but forget all that bullshit. Let's celebrate, money man, he shouted. I love to, but I gotta see Claire. I'm free tomorrow night, though. You down? Deal. Again, congratulations, he said. They hugged goodbye, and Phillip went looking. Phillip, a booming voice called from behind. He turned around to find Gary approaching with a wide grin. Man, that was one hell of a performance. The crowd absolutely loved you. Thank you, Gary, Phillip responded. Coming from you, that means a lot. The advice you gave helped. Listen, kid, I don't do this often, but I'm going to be straight with you. I've got 2 shows for Andrew Schultz coming up next month, and I could use an opener for both. Someone fresh and funny like you. You'll get paid $5,000 a show, he said. Wow, really? He couldn't believe it. Absolutely. After what I just saw, what you think? Want to open for him? Phillip hesitated for a moment, still trying to process the information before grasping Gary's hand firmly. Sir, it would be an honor. Great, he clapped him on the shoulder. We'll talk details later, but for now, go celebrate your victory. You earned it. Thank you again and appreciate the opportunity. After the news, Phillip resumed his search and texted Sam he would cash app her all of the due rent, including 3 months in advance the next day. Soon after, he found Claire in the sea of people outside the venue. Oh my God, you did amazing, Claire said, giving him a hug before he was able to say anything. Hey, Phillip exhaled, his breath shaky. I can't believe I won. You won't believe what just... Man, we've got a lot to talk about. You want to come by? I don't work until tomorrow night. I figure if you won, you want to, celebrate? You knew I would win, he smiled. I definitely want to celebrate with you, Phillip concluded, and the two left the venue.